They're just 7-minute episodes about cartoon dogs playing fun, make-believe games. So why are parents sobbing uncontrollably while their confused kids ask if they're okay? Well, it seems Bluey has somehow mastered the art of making adults cry in their kids' series, hiding painful moments of pure humanity between silly games and dog jokes. So here's a disclaimer. Today, we're showing you the top 10 times this children's show absolutely shattered our hearts as adults. Just make sure you don't run out of tissues. This episode, Sleep Time, hits differently when you rewatch it as an adult. What starts as Bingo wanting to do a big girl sleep turns into one of the most beautiful 6 minutes of animation you'll ever see. Chili, represented as the sun in the dream, says, "Remember, I'm always here if you need me before bed."
But remember, I'm always here if you need me. Okay.
And honestly, that feels like such a mom thing to say. But the episode turned a simple reassurance into something really magical. The dream sequence that follows will even make you reach for your handkerchief to cry your eyes out. Bingo drifts through space in this Little Prince-inspired journey, where she eventually lets her stuffed bunny Floppy go. It's this perfect little metaphor for growing up and letting go of the things you played with as a kid. Then comes that line that breaks you. "I'll always be here for you, even if you can't see me because I love you." You can't unsee it. It's just unfair how good this scene is. Like, who gave a preschool show permission to be this detailed and profound? When Bingo finally wakes up in her bed, that little victory suddenly feels huge. It's not just about a kid sleeping through the night. It's about trust and love and growing up in this beautifully understated way. I know, just go on and let the tears flow. We'll allow that today. This scene is from the episode Onesies. Sometimes Bluey hits you with raw emotion so real, you forget you're watching a kid's show about cartoon dogs. When Aunt Brandy shows up after years of being away from family, there's this undeniable tension in the air.
It's all good, Brandy.
The kind that kids don't notice, but makes you shift uncomfortably in your seat, while Bingo bounces around playing leopard, hunting everyone with that childish excitement. Something didn't feel right, Brandy. Then it suddenly dawns on you that some things in life don't go as planned, and it's nobody's fault. It's the kind of truth adults struggle to explain sometimes. And there in the scene, we find Brandy lying down, lost in thought while life happens around her. What makes this scene even more intense is the revelation that follows. Brandy's dream was always to be a mom, but she couldn't have children, and seeing her sister with Bluey and Bingo was way too painful to bear. Who knows? Maybe it's the reason she stayed away all those years. The way Bluey handles infertility in a preschool show of all series is absolutely remarkable. It doesn't explain everything for the kids watching, but it gives adults watching alongside them a moment of profound recognition. Sometimes life doesn't work out as you planned, and that's a truth we have to deal with for the rest of our lives. You remember that kid you met only for one weekend when you were young and somehow you became best friends forever? Well, that's exactly what camping dished to us. And oh boy, does it bring back memories. Bluey and Jean-Luc's instant connection is simply an animated version of our childhood friendships in its purest form. They don't even speak the same language. But it doesn't even matter. They've got sticks and mud and imagination. What more could you need? Then comes that heartbreaking moment. Bluey discovers that Jean-Luc and his family will be moving away to Canada. Well, if that doesn't take you back to your childhood disappointments, I don't know what will. But somehow, the universe always connects us back to the people who genuinely care about us. The next scene that opened up was a magical moment in the future that showed teenage Bluey meeting grown-up Jean-Luc by their favorite tree, which is now massive, and they got united back again. Gets me every single time. Honestly, it's such a perfect picture of those fleeting childhood connections. Some friendships aren't meant to last forever, but that doesn't make them any less important. Ever watched a cartoon tackle neurodiversity with more insight than most adult shows? That's exactly what Army does, and honestly, it's a masterclass in empathy. Meet Jack, a border collie with ADH who can't seem to stay focused or follow Rusty's instructions during their Army game. The conversation with Rusty while they are having lunch, he admits, "There's something wrong with me," feels almost too real for a kid's show. If you've ever felt like you don't fit in, that line probably sent a shiver down your spine. But here's the beauty part. Rusty doesn't try to fix Jack. Instead, he tells him that he's really good at playing Army and finds a role where Jack's constantly noticing everything. Suddenly, being different isn't abnormal anymore. It's exactly what makes Jack valuable. He got home and excitedly shared all the fun he had in school. One of the best days of his life. The cherry on top is when Jack's dad returns from actual military service, just as Jack finds his place in the pretend one. I mean, come on. The symbolism, the timing, the emotions. How does a 7-minute episode about cartoon dogs playing Army have such an emotional punch? If you've got a child who learns differently, this episode just makes you love them even more. It's just an amazing sight to see these people being represented in Jack, and now the cartoon doesn't frame difference as something to overcome, but as something to channel. And hey, if you're feeling these Bluey moments as much as I am, like this video and smash that subscribe button. Otherwise, Rusty will make you play Army for 3 hours straight. Can we talk about Granddad for a minute? Because nothing breaks you emotionally more than watching your parents age quickly, but you can't do anything about it. You'd think a show about blue cartoon dogs would be a safe space to escape your worries. But no, Bluey comes at you with Chili worrying about her aging father's health, and suddenly you're contemplating calling your own parents to make sure they're taking their medication. The Riverside scene is where it gets more heartbreaking. It perfectly captures how time feels when you're older. Those memories that seem like ancient history to us are still crystal clear in their minds. Younger viewers might not fully grasp this, but for parents, this scene would sting very hard. Then Chili drops that emotional hammer. I still need him. Words that will somehow leave tears welling in your eyes. It's still amazing how the episode captures that weird in-between of being a responsible adult while simultaneously being someone's little kid. Don't worry, I'm not crying. The last scene unfolds with Chili and her father sitting by the lake in a warm hug. Then we see little Chili sitting close to her dad. This scene perfectly reminds us of those gorgeous moments we've shared with the ones we love and care about. Okay, you'll want to grab tissues for this next one because you might cry out an entire river. The episode Butterflies ranks at number 9. Kids can be so casually cruel sometimes, and this episode nails that reality in the most heartbreaking way possible. Bingo's playing Cocoon in the backyard when Judo convinces Bluey to ditch her without saying anything. It might be just a small moment, but it spirals into something genuinely painful to watch. In the scene, Bingo emerges from her cocoon, looking around confused when nobody's there. Just this tiny dog suddenly realizes she's been left behind. Then she spots them in the front yard, playing without her. Watching this scene, you can literally see the moment her little heart tears in two. Her eyes even say it all. What makes this even more emotional is how they handle Bluey's reaction. When she realizes what she's done, she breaks down crying too. It's this messy, complicated moment where there are no villains, just kids figuring out how their actions affect others. This episode sticks with you because we've all been Bingo at some point. We've all had that moment of realizing we've been left out, and man, does it sting really hard. Did space catch you off guard? Because it certainly left me blindsided. This would leave you questioning why you're watching childhood PTSD in a kid's cartoon. The scene involves the black and white border collie, Mackenzie, one of the not-so-popular characters in the series, and also Bluey's crush. When tough guy Mackenzie freaks out about being left behind, you might think he's only being too dramatic over something that shouldn't be a big deal. But then, the episode pulls back the curtain on something deeper, a forgotten childhood trauma from his early years that's been quietly shaping his behavior. That flashback scene opened up little Mackenzie on the other side of a slide, believing his mother had abandoned him. But what he didn't know was that he only came out from the wrong side, and his mother was waiting on the other side. The fact that this is happening to the kid who usually acts like nothing phases him, even adds a more touching side to it. That one incident had kept him from playing freely with his friends, fearing that he might be left behind again. But what's absolutely brilliant is how his teacher, Calypso, helped him process and handle the situation. The message here is crystal clear, but never preachy. Childhood traumas don't just disappear because kids don't talk about them. They emerge in unexpected ways and deserve to be acknowledged and honored. Otherwise, the kid might grow up filled with fear. If you're enjoying this breakdown of Bluey's most emotional moments, then hit that subscribe button so you can enjoy all our interesting Bluey videos. I bet you weren't expecting the Mother's Day episode to make this list, were you? On the surface, it's just Bluey and Bingo putting on a cute play about family life. But then comes that moment that separates the kid viewers from the adults. The girls use a balloon to represent pregnancy, and then pop. That's it, just a popped balloon. But Chili's reaction explains what every adult has in mind. Yup, it's what you think. They're addressing miscarriage in a kids' show. It explains that Bluey wasn't really the first baby of the Healer family. Bandit immediately puts his hand on his wife's, trying to console her. Chili had probably lost her first child in her womb before Bluey was born. This has to be one of the most heart-wrenching moments in the series. What absolutely blows my mind is the subtlety. It seemed like a casual kids' play between Bluey and Bingo, but it stretches way deeper than that. For anyone who's ever gone through pregnancy loss, seeing this moment in a preschool show feels a little weird, but it is a validation that your grief matters, that it's part of the family story, even when it's not spoken about. If that doesn't showcase Bluey's emotional brilliance, I don't know what does. And speaking of brilliance, this next scene will leave you thinking deeply for days. In the episode Copycat, we find Bluey and her dad Bandit playing a little game where Bluey copies everything her father does. But while they were having fun and chasing each other, they suddenly found a little bug that had fallen motionless to the ground and was injured. They picked up the bird and drove quickly to the vet like the heroes they were, trying to save a life. The scene showed another bird that was watching them from an electrical wire. Maybe they were lovers. Who knows? Sadly, when they got to the hospital, they were told the terrible news that the bird couldn't make it. From the expression on Bluey's face, you could tell how much that news broke her into pieces. When they got home, her mother understood just how much the loss could affect her, so she took her in her arms and consoled her. You just can't have enough of that scene. The real genius here is how this episode gives families a safe way to start difficult conversations about losing someone they love. It's like grief training wheels. It teaches the kids watching that if Bluey can handle it, so can they. If you've used this episode to help explain the death of a pet or something more serious, drop a comment below because you're definitely not alone. Lastly, the episode Early Baby is one that will leave you wondering how a preschool show dared to tackle premature birth with such tenderness and accuracy. When Indy introduces her doll as an early baby named Polly, who needs special care in the NICU, most kids probably just see another imaginative game. But for parents who've spent sleepless nights beside incubators, watching monitors, and praying for good news, this scene hits hard like a ton of bricks. I love how Bluey's confusion creates the perfect opening for Indy's simple explanation. She's an early baby and needs to stay in the hospital for a long time. Well, we didn't expect her to understand that anyway. What makes this moment so powerful is the attention to detail in their pretend play, the careful handling, the constant monitoring, the mixture of worry and hope. For anyone who's lived the NICU experience, seeing it represented in a children's cartoon feels like a one-in-a-million moment. Who would believe that would find its way there? The responses to this episode have been incredible, with NICU parents sharing how validated they felt seeing their experience acknowledged, even in this small way. This is Bluey at its absolute best, using simple play scenarios to create space for complex emotional experiences and difficult conversations. Well guys, we've reached the end of our emotional Bluey journey, and my tissue box is officially empty. What makes these moments so special isn't the fancy animation or complicated storylines, it's their emotional truth. These blue cartoon dogs somehow capture the messiness of real family life better than most live-action shows ever could. If you enjoyed this emotional moment, stay glued to this channel because the next one promises to be more heartwarming.